dovetail into the Fenmark part of it, and we had some very good news last week that the ATSDR will be coming to town to perform public health studies. I want to thank everybody from the public for being involved in getting them here. I think it's great news for the township, so we can exactly see what's going on. Mr. Raths, please, update.
Yeah, we're very excited with the public and everybody's involvement in this process in getting the ATSDR here. This is something that we've been, the residents and the council have been looking for since the fall of last year. There is information on the table about what the ATSDR does in regards to their studies and their assessments. In addition to that, Mark Caputo, who's with us today, our health director, will be the lead for the township in working with this agency. He's already been in contact with the agency staff, and I believe their lead individual on this as well too. So we'll be directing questions to Mark, but more importantly, Mark will be coordinating and working with the ATSDR on public outreach, and we will provide them and we will work with them to ensure that they get any and all information that they need on any and all issues that they deem necessary. Listen, we know everybody's really frustrated on this entire process. Everybody, and rightfully so, but this is something that we've all sought, and I'm very excited that they're going to come into the township and do this assessment that they will do on that. I would say that it's very important that you look at to what their scope is. You know how I love to say scope. They actually have provided a scope. That information is on the table, the Fenimore information table, which will be available to you. It's also online as well. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Caputo, because I think he's a face that you're going to recognize and see quite a bit from here on out.
Mr. Caputo, you want to come up and sit down at the mic? Make yourself a little more comfortable. Sit down, that's it.
The ATSDR is a federal agency. It's a non-regulatory wing of the CDC, Center for Disease Control. ATSDR routinely provides public health consultations or public health assessments to Superfund sites by law. Fenimore, as we'll know, is not a Superfund site. However, through the hard work of the council and REACT, they have heard the petition, they've heard the request to be involved, and I did have a conversation with the Fenimore team leader, Dr. Jill Dyken, this afternoon. And she advised that she's finishing up a project in Virginia, and they should be up in the Roxbury or the Fenimore area. Well, I should say they are planning a visit. They're going to start the project in about a month, in about 30 days. They should be starting the project, and it will include a site visit from their team down. I believe they're located in Atlanta. So they'll be coming up with a contingent. They'll be looking to meet with elected officials locally. They'll be meeting with state officials and at the DEP and the DOH, pulling together all resources and then conducting their studies. And they've assured me that it's going to be a team approach, and that there will be a written report given to all of the officials.
And do they plan on bringing in their own monitors to track things, or are they planning on dovetailing off?
Dr. Dyken was delighted to see that we have a large amount of data from our monitors that we have placed for several months now. They may come up and ask for more. They may just look at certain monitors. I'm not sure about. And Dr. Dyken wasn't sure.
Too early.
Until they, yes, it's too preliminary at this time.
But they're coming up before the 30-day start time to do an assessment.
They'll start the project in their office, but that's going to be within 30 days. When the site visit, when they're going to be in town, I don't know. I don't know exactly when. But she did assure me that their involvement does include a site visitation and meeting with local officials.
Mr. Zosher?
Mark, do they actually interview any residents?
in this study?
They are likely to do that. I can't speak, it's still preliminary at this time. They have done that in the past, Councilman. They have interviewed residents in the area of certain landfills. They've been involved with having certain residents wear badges that can record the amount of H2S. I'm not certain if that's going to happen here. Again, too soon to tell.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hall?
Hi, Mark. And perhaps they haven't had the opportunity to really go through this in detail. There's a whole bunch of information out on the internet related to the ATSDR. To Mr. Rath's point, the actual scope and deliverable by which they're going to be providing to the township and to the residents. Do we know exactly what that scope is? I mean, are they just going to be doing ambient air testing? Are they going to look at water impact? I mean, have they actually drove down or explained to you exactly what it is that they're going to be providing and delivering to the township?
Dr. Dyken indicated to me that the study that they will do will range from a health consultation, which is a briefer study but a quicker turnaround time, that range from that to a public health assessment, which is much more involved, takes a longer time to put together and a longer time to report back to the stakeholders.
Just one more point, if I may. There's a 30-day window when they're going to start. The length of time they're going to be need in order to do the study and produce the required output is?
I don't have an exact answer for that, Councilman, but again, if it's a health consultation, shorter period of time. Health assessment, much longer period of time.
Okay.
They're not sure which one it's going to be at this time.
So they get to determine which one of those two
That
will
is
happen, or do we get to say we would like to see
that's
both?
that's their bailiwick. I mean, they're gonna open it up to discussion. There will be discussion about it. They're not coming in with any preconceived notions.
Thank you, Mark.
And we currently have quite a bit of data to give them, so they could, have a little bit more prior to starting than they normally would, I'm sure.
Yes, ma'am. She did indicate she was delighted to see that we had a large body of H2S data there. That's helpful.
Any other council comments?
I'm sorry, just one last thing. I'm sorry, Mark, one last thing. They're not just going to limit it to the I guess you've answered that before, you don't know yet, but if we have the event, they're not just going to limit it to that.
No, I wouldn't, I don't know that, but in reading some of the prior consults from, let's say, I think it was from Softly, they looked at sulfate constituent contaminants.
Softly?
Yeah. So I would imagine they would probably work off of that.
Thank you.
Any other council comments? Questions? Any other?
Just, you may mention that how you've involved the county in this as well, too.
I did have a discussion with Carlos Perez. He's the county health officer. He's indicated to me that his staff would be helpful to us. We need help in pretty much any capacity as far as boots on the ground or door-to-door surveys and things like that.
Yeah, they did offer some services 2 weeks back. So
Yes.
we're talking to them about, so this kind of lines itself out perfectly. Anything else in general, Mr. Ratz?
Just to let you know, and I think you've seen letters, and Senator Bucco sent a letter to the state as well too, is the state, we have been sending our reimbursements in, and the state has been questioning some of the rates and some of the numbers that we've been provided by our professionals and asked for reimbursement. So at this time, not only do we have the struggle with the state's DEP and other matters that we're all very familiar with, we have the struggles with the state DEP to ensure our reimbursements come in a more timely fashion. This is a very expensive proposal, as you saw tonight on your resolutions for these services, and they have agreed to reimburse us, and we need to stick with that. And it was very good that Senator Bucco reached out to do that. I mean, as I say in my letters, Lisa Spring's sending the letters now. But as I've said in past letters, first of all, we're harmed by the condition that we've been placed in. And then we're asked to pay for the condition that we've been placed in as well too, and those are just not acceptable. So, you know how it is, so just to echo that as well. So we will continue to proceed with that. Other than that, I believe that's all. I do have one other thing. In the communications package is my report, the entire report from the Softly, my visit to Softly, and all of the individuals that I met with. It is in, and we will put it on the website tomorrow. But I can tell you that even prior to the April 17th report, I sent it back to the officials at Softly and asked them to review it and confirm its accuracy, and they did. And just to let you know who I met with down there, I met with the Escambia County Commissioner, District 1, William B. Robertson. He's the Softly landfill was in his district. He took the political lead. I was with him about 45 minutes. I met with the Director of Community Environment Department, Keith T. Wilkins. He's a 13-year veteran of the department. Prior to his employment with the county, he was an environmental consultant as well. His department was directly responsible for the facility. I met with the Engineering Environmental Management, Brent Schneider. He's PE. He operates the Escambia County landfills. He had just recently, it was really happenstance, it was pretty good, and it's on the information table should you want it. He had just presented a report to Swansea, which is the Solid Waste Professionals Association in Monterey, California, the week before my visit. That presentation with all the numbers and all of the charts and everything is on the table should you so want to look at it. So the point is that was directly from them, and it was as up to date as you could possibly get. I then had follow-up conversations with Daryl Boudreau. At the time, he was the previous assistant director of the FDP, Florida Department of Environmental Protection, Northwest District during the remediation of the Softly landfill. I also had a conversation with Health Director of Escambia, Robert Merritt. He's REHS. He's the Director of Environmental Health. Interesting, in Florida, your county health officials are state employees. They are paid by the state, and they may be called a county health official, but they're actually paid by the state. I found that he is now currently the director of the North Florida Nature, that's Mr. Boudreau, is the director of the North Florida Nature Conservancy. So they provided me a wealth of information. The report will go online. I know that some people are eager to take a look at it. I encourage them to take a look at it. I also encourage all of you to take a look at it. It will be on the information table after tonight as well too. That table will stay up anytime during the day. If you want to come in and look for information, it'll be available to you, but that'll be up as well too. So again, I encourage you to take a look at that. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor, in regards to that. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other council members have anything to add in before we open to the public? Okay. At this point in time, we'll open the meeting up to the public on all issues. This is the regular public portion, so please raise your hand. I would like to advise you that we have, for the sake of everybody getting an opportunity, 3 minutes maximum and 1 appearance for the first public session. The second public session, you could certainly come back up and be heard then. So at this point in time, I'll open the public session. Please raise your hand if you have anything to say. Yes, sir.
Bill Morocco, Lazarus Drive in Ledgewood. I just want everyone to know I'm also a stakeholder in the ATSDR petition, and I just wanted to add a few things that weren't mentioned. As far as the scope, because it sounded like there was a lot of questions on the scope, they do not facilitate any testing. What they would do is they would give the recommendations, and they would depend on either the township, the local Department of Health, the State Department of Health, or the DEP to do that testing. The testing isn't mandated; it's at their will. And then what they would do is they would review those results, and depending on what they find, they would perhaps facilitate even further testing. That would be the maximum they would do. At minimum, they would just incorporate those results into the report. They also try to set up partnerships for the greater good, such as potentially working with the EPA I know in some other, when I spoke to Dr. Dyken, on some other mediations, they set something up where the EPA actually loaned some monitors to township officials, which they were giving out to residents. And that's the whole thing with the badges. So they're not going to come here and give badges to residents and have them analyzed at a lab. They're going to depend on the township and the DEP and the local Department of Health, and maybe even the residents, since I'm a stakeholder, if the residents want to fund some of the testing that's recommended and perhaps isn't done, they're going to depend on us to do the testing.
That's exactly why we've already approached the county. So that's a good point, is that we know that some of this is going to come back to the community, and that's one of the reasons that we immediately reached out to the county. So thank you very much.
Specifically for people on the ground,
And assistance
yeah,
for finance.
I mean, their preference is the DEP does everything, but I don't know that that's going to happen. So,
Yeah, hey, Bill, just to that point, and it's a good point, and everybody should really listen to this very carefully, what he just said, because it says right here on the ATPSDR webpage that they do not conduct environmental sampling. It's their first bullet. So, you know, I guess if they find more information out, you know, they can request it. I don't know what power they're going to have to force it to happen. That's the whole thing. And hopefully we'll find that out.
hopefully as a committee of the CDC subsect of that, they'll have a little more clout than some of us who have.
another question, another township set up a hotline to ask questions on the report that was received. I haven't received any answers. Is that a black hole, or is that,
No, it's not a
are those
black
questions
hole.
going to be addressed?
It's not a black hole, but our IT director was off on Thursday and Monday, so I did not talk to him today, but no, we'll of course answer those questions.
Okay.
Now, given some of your questions, it may take a little time, Bill, but we will be as thorough as possible, and we'll get those out as fast as we can.
Okay. The other thing, and this is a question for everyone here, and just going back to the last meeting, I think some of the residents, including myself, were surprised that the township made a decision before listening to public comments, because, you know, that's been criticized of the DEP. And there were a lot of comments, and there were a lot of questions that still aren't unanswered. And I know that we're pressing the DEP to answer our questions and listen to tapes. So I think, you know, we should be following suit. I'm not saying they're not, but I'm saying that we should. So I guess my question is, you know, you kind of read like a little, like a prepared, I'll call it a press release on the township's decision. I'd like to know, with the data that was available, you know, how did you come to that decision? You know, basically, you know, you had information at your disposal from the DEP, you had information from your township report. The township report was very thorough. It didn't make any recommendations. It actually had some assumptions and some facts that were missing by no fault of their own. So I just was wondering, you know, how did you collectively come to the decision you did based on the information you have?
Your 3 minutes are up, but I'll answer, and then I'll certainly bring you up later on in the public session to do it. I can't speak for everybody here, but based upon our report, which you just said was very well written, there were some assumptions made because of the lack of some data, some of which may have altered the report to some degree, some would not have, from what I'm gathering. So I know I've always said from the beginning that I'm going to base it on the science to the best of my ability. I've never pretended to be a scientist or to be able to make a judgment without the input, and I really strongly looked forward to the feedback that we got from Mr. Zelli, and I think it was clear, based upon the information we have, this to be the best route. And as our statement said, there's been very little data to show that trucking it out has been successful. So that's my answer. I'll let the others answer at another point in time, but I would like to move on to the rest of the public at this point.
Okay.
Thanks, Bill.
I'd like to make a suggestion that, for the sake of efficiency, you extend that time limit to 5 minutes in the future.
That's right, I agree.
Anybody else in the public wish to be heard?
We made this decision.
Melissa Batcherson, 6 Justine. I didn't get a response back from my email April 16th, and I pretty much said the council as well as the residents waited months for our expert report. We, including you, all had access to it last Wednesday. The council had 6 days, well really four work days to digest it. It was an extensive report, over 100 pages. How could the council truly come to a decision that quickly without a meeting? You may have exchanged emails and perhaps some phone calls, as you alluded to last night. So I want to know, because that's not the practice that I'm familiar with, best practices as far as making any kind of decision. How many council members and which ones actually had a discussion with the experts following the release of the report, which was made available to all of us that Wednesday, including you, according to what you said. Why did you and the council members not discuss it with the experts last night? This was, from the morning following. Why did you not ask questions to our experts in public prior to drawing your conclusion? Number 3, investigation. Why hasn't the council started an investigation? Jim, I believe you alluded to one being started by some people, but you had no idea who. It was pretty clear when Ken Collins came up that passage he read, that the council has a right to do environmental monitoring, to step onto the property. And I'm still baffled as to why we didn't pursue this yesterday, April 21st. Bob DiFilippo, I'm going to disagree with you because I listened to my tape and your answer a couple of times. About the decision for April 21st, you said you did not know before the meeting. If that was the case, when did the council, all 7 of you, take a vote on it, if you did, about not going back April 21st? I know the environmental attorney recommended it, but recommendation's one thing. I would expect a vote and everybody participates in that. Talking quickly because I know my 3 minutes. This AD, TSR, whatever this is, my concern all along has been a health survey to the residents. It sounds like this is not what they do. In reading this quickly, I'm not sure how that will turn out. I can tell you, and I'm happy to report, that my doctor is going to put in writing, my eye doctor, just about the health concerns, and she will connect it with Fenimore. She won't have it ready till Friday. My primary physician as well will conduct some issues that have been going on with me connected to Fenimore. So I guess I'll give that to Mark Caputo. I'm a very private person, but if you all need proof that this has had a health impact, then I will prove it.
I think Mr. Raths has encouraged anybody with issues to submit it. Please.
And I guess this is a question for the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry. Like, how far back are they going to go? If they're going to look now and see if there's any concerns, question marks about potential environmental hazards, the situation has gotten, thank goodness, somewhat better with some of the remediation that's been done. So are they going to go back to originally when this started, when a lot more people were sick and a lot was going on? Like, how does that work?
We will learn more when they get here or when they start the study. Right now, it's
But I'm encouraged that you pointed out they're grateful for the amount of information we have, so why the scope hasn't been done.
Okay, and I guess my question too is and this is good news, but how are you planning on reaching 23,000 residents about this? Because I liked Myrna's suggestion at the last meeting was the report that the DOH released of the health impacts. Why not send that registered letter to the 23,000 residents? So if people don't know about what's going on, which, believe it or not, there are some people, they may connect some of their health issues and a light bulb might go on, and it could be very important to this ATS-DNR future study. We really need the whole community to be really alert with what's going on. I just think the lack of communication, it just leads, I've always said, a level of mistrust with what's either been hidden, trying to be hidden. It's, anyway, I guess my 3 minutes are probably about up.
Well,
Thank you.
the answer to your question.
I think
Well, I don't know if that includes the 3 minutes. I have no idea how you answer, because you didn't answer my questions from the email.
Mr. Hall? Yeah, I have the fact sheet for the ATSD, and I can't talk to them because I haven't spoken to them yet. We sent the letter out last October. I encourage you to take a look at this. I don't know whether it's going to answer your questions, to be honest. It says review and assess environmental health and community information and data. It says provide environmental health education for healthcare providers, community, and tribes. Refer public health issues or problems to other federal, state, or local government entities when they do not fall within ATSDR's area of responsibility. So I don't know exactly, you know, the type of health information they're going to be providing, and that's why I asked the question in the beginning of the meeting. The devil's in the details. We have to find out exactly to what level of detail they're going to provide it and what length of time they're going to provide it in. So, point well taken.
And then I guess the other questions,
The one I remember here was the Grouser. We don't have to take a vote on that to move forward. There was a letter of recommendation made by Mr. Grouser about moving forward and the positive aspect of getting something out of it, which was not possible. So that memo was sent, I believe, because I was away that month in an executive. Yeah, so it's, you know, it wasn't a public document. at
yep,
that point
I
in
know, but
time.
everybody discussed it probably, I guess, in executive session, going back to court on April 21st then?
I wasn't here for that meeting, so I'm not sure if that was discussed or not.
Yeah, we discussed it in executive session, and I don't know what else to say to you. I wasn't sure when you asked me that question, unless you can.
Well, when did you find out though, like, because we spoke to you at like 6:30 at night, so like, when did you find out that they had made a decision?
That they had finally decided not to pursue the.
Yes.
I found out when they announced it that evening. Now, I apologize if I should have known, but I didn't. So, I don't know what more you want me to say.
Okay. No, I mean, that's-
Again, I wasn't here, so I can't speak to what transpired.
Okay,
I know what the recommendation was from our attorney.
I think I would be upset about it if I were you. You know, a decision with, I mean, you are one of the councilmen, so
I'm
not
very
even giving your
upset about-
opinion. And
About
then,
not understanding that we had made a decision.
as far as Governor Christie, has anybody contacted him? I mean, he literally is misspeaking about our community and saying that this issue has been an issue for 30 years, and it hasn't been an issue for 30 years. If you go back to all the reports, all of you have them, it wasn't really an issue for 30 years. It was an issue when C&D material was brought in. Now, he's ruining the reputation of our
You've been
town
here,
now.
so you know what we've done. Senator Bucco happened to call me yesterday, and I mentioned it to him. I said, you know, this is a travesty that's happening in our municipality, as he well knows, and certainly don't have to tell anybody here, but it's either the lack of information that's being supplied on that end to make those kinds of comments that we just don't understand. Because you're right, it doesn't make any sense. And he has to be getting maybe not false information, but misguided or you know, inaccurate of some way.
But Jim, why wouldn't you though, as our mayor though, call like a
Press
the press conference together to really make it right? Because the meeting, I think, was in Long Hill Township. He says it, you folks, meaning the council, as well as the residents, we sound like, quite honestly, we sound like a bunch of idiots that should have known this all along, that it's been there for 30 years, and he treats us in a disgusting manner, quite honestly. Very disrespectful, very, very condescending. And this is a great community. I mean, I know people that used to go swimming up in the Ledgewood Pond and do all sorts of things, and it wasn't an issue. And as a matter of fact, the Fenimore family someone in ShopRite saw them the other day, one of the daughters, and she's quite ticked off. And I don't blame her too, because it keeps the family name keeps being brought into it.
And they're a wonderful family.
And yeah, I don't know them personally, but Christie, like, you know, he should be just a press release or something to set him straight. The poor Fenimore family has nothing to do with the CMT material being dumped there. They have nothing to do with it. SCP did it 2-3 years ago, so why are they being dragged through the mud?
Thank you.
I mean, it's a terrible thing.
Anybody else in the public wish to be heard? Yes, sir.
Dennis Wayne for Lisa Casana. I have a couple other questions. You're seeking a safe and secure grant for 2 officers, a detective and a patrolman. Are these are not expansions, these are just supplementing the salary of 2 existing
These were
officers?
pre-existing, and I got concerned too when I first read it. They did it differently this year.
Okay.
There was explanation.
But I think there was an explanation further back that it was done differently this year. But yeah, it's something it's reimbursement for something that's already taken place years ago.
Okay. Speaking of reimbursements, Ms. Rath mentioned that you were seeking reimbursement from the state for a couple items on the agenda tonight. Is that the page 82, 155,000, and the page 88, 304,000?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Those are for the rest of the year for the contracts with Emilcott and with Mesa Construction.
Lastly, you're buying some police vests. Are these replacing something that's worn out, or are these a superior product that we're giving to our police?
Well, I hope they're both.
Probably a little bit of both.
Okay, so they are replacing worn out desks, and they hopefully are a superior product as well.
Really?
Thank you.
I'm like,
Thanks, guys. Anybody else in the public in the back?
Bob Maderos, 4 Nelson Drive, Ledger, New Jersey. First question is for Mark. Mark, as per the governor, it's been going back 30 years. Are you going to give this health department the report I gave you a year and a half ago about the cancer cases along Emmons Road and its contamination of the waters going down to it? Yes or no?
I know you called us.
You brought in the Morris County Health Department. I gave them all the information, I gave them the data, I gave them all the addresses of the people that had cancer on Emmons Road, and the only common denominator is the water that's flowing down from the hill, and on top of the hill is the landfill. Are you gonna give them that report, and are you gonna follow through with that? As far as the governor states, 30 years, it's going back to the old landfill, not the new landfill. Think about that question, Walt. I only got 3 minutes. The expert report. The expert report is it's half an error. Half an error. My question to you guys, how did you make this decision? Did you research his report? I did, and I found nothing but holes in it. How could you...
Talking about our expert report?
Yes, your expert report. How could you make a decision not to complete this, to drop out completely and go with the DEP's requirement and not truck it out? He stated that there's non-fireable material in the landfill.
flammable.
There's tons of it. There's photos of it. There's tires. There's more garbage in there that could be explosive than anything else. How did you make that decision? That's my first question. My second question, I submitted these questions in writing. Is the expert report going to be revised
They're going to be responding to your questions.
to my questions?
Right, correct.
In other words, you're not agreeing with a photograph showing 2 streams going into a pond, which is not a retaining pond, it's a pond created by the 2 streams on top of the water, where the expert report stated that there's no water underneath the landfill, therefore they can put a cover on top of it and no accumulation of gases is going to accumulate from it. That's my second question. My third, yeah, that's it. Go ahead.
They'll be responding to his questions. Bob sent in a lengthy list of questions the Wednesday after the meeting, I believe.
Yes, I did.
And they'll be responding to that.
I
You have to give them a little latitude. Some people
Oh,
have Friday off and
I'll wait for that.
and they
but-
took Sunday off as well too.
Right, I'll wait for that, but my question is, how did you make a decision when that report is half incorrect?
If there's inaccuracies in there, and there can be, but as its entirety, I found it to be quite good. I think you heard somebody from the audience actually say that this evening as well. It was comprehensive, and quite frankly, I think it was the best amount of data that we have to make the best decision that we can, was that report. And it's not about whether we follow DEP. I said all along, for me, and I won't speak for Seven, but for me, I said all along, it will depend on the experts and how it's presented. Whether DEP chose this avenue or not, it's not necessarily the way I would have picked.
Well, he picked the DEP's avenue, he picked all the statements that the DEP based on. That was his report. DEP, his report. My report is from research and from study. And I presented mine. Look at that. Come up with a true conclusion of what is necessary to be done up in this landfill. You are putting a gun right to our heads by keeping it there. It is such a hassle, you're gonna regret it 10 years from now. And I want to go on record that I'm stating that, all of yous. Thank you.
Bob, I'd like to answer that one question in regards to the health department, Mr. Mayor. If I recall, Mark Caputo and the county met with, had some personnel meet with you out there.
Yes.
And I can assure you that that information will be provided to the ATSDR, and if we need to meet with you again, and they are willing to do so, we will ask them to do so.
I appreciate it, Chris. Thank you very much, and I'll be available.
Thank you. Thanks, Bob.
This is Mr. Medeiros, I'm going to answer the whole audience. The reason you can sit down, Bob. You know what I'm going to say, I think. The reason I agree with our experts' reports, I have extensive experience. I'm a photographer, and I've worked on 3 Superfund sites and 1 landfill cell created from scratch. And I worked on them for over 8 years. The Superfund sites were asbestos sites at White Ridge Road and New Vernon Road in New Vernon. The other Superfund site was the Passaic County Votech, which was a garbage dump, much like we have here, that they built a school on, Passaic County Votech. And the Warren County landfill, I took pictures of over the 2 years of construction in the brand new cell that they have up there. They have several cell dump sites, which they line and cap with garbage, and they have an incinerator up there. The Passaic Valley Votech was a school built on a dump site in which methane gas and hydrogen sulfide gas came up about a year and a half, 2 years after they finished the school. So what they did, they had to evacuate the school and shut it down. They took the school down to the skeleton, to its steel skeleton and the slab. And what they did was they dug a big hole about maybe a half a mile off site. They dug up every piece of garbage on that site. They put it in that hole, which was lined, which had a drainage system, which had a gas collection system in it, much like Fenimore is going to have. That's what they did.
It's not lined.
This is not, I understand. I'm telling you the experience, why I said to go with this. My experience is that's how they cap landfills. They put a cap on them, all, the ones I worked on, and they're working, they're still going. They built the school back on that site, and the kids are going to school now with no hydrogen sulfide gas. In my mind, with my experience and that report that we had to rely on, who are experts in the field, by the way. I'm not a scientist, I'm not an expert in the field, I have experience on these sites. That's how I made up my mind.
Anybody else?
Could I answer that, being that you answered my question? Could I answer that?
He made a statement that was based upon why, he was answering a question.
I was
So
asking
we'll move on.
a question.
The gentleman right next to you, Bob.
Victor Dean, 243 Main Street, Ledgewood. I can answer a lot of questions for you guys. I told you time and time again, grab the bull by the horns, you don't do it. You never have from day one, you haven't yet today. You kind of just let everybody step on you. You're supposed to be representing us. Hell of a terrible job, man, terrible. You don't know nothing about landfill. Listen to Bob, he knows.
Okay.
You might have worked on a few and played around and got a paycheck. That's about as far as that goes.
Okay.
And I have a slip from my doctor from a year ago. I kept the prescription that the fume that I'm inhaling from the landfill a year ago is definitely coming from the landfill. And I've been going to the doctor pretty regularly, and I just left every 2 months I go, and it's getting worse, and he's giving me more medication, and he still says, due to the gases coming from the landfill. Now, if you want to see the receipt, the prescription, I can bring it next time to come here and show you.
You can do that, but what would be even better is if you got your doctor to put that in writing.
He put it on the prescription.
Due to the landfill.
Then due to the landfill.
Great, then bring it to us.
Okay, you want me to bring it to you or you?
No, Mr. Caputo.
Okay, and then want me to bring the rest of them? He didn't put that in the rest of them, just the medication I
Drop
have
it
to
off at the health department.
take. Okay,
You
there
can
you
give it
go.
to our
Absolutely.
public health nurse, Jim Frank.
Okay, again, gentlemen, grab the bull by the horn. You're letting us down, and you're letting us down real bad, okay? Terrible.
Yes, ma'am. Up in front.
Marie Gargiulo, 17 Lincoln Drive, Flanders. My question for you is, do you know how much H2S is too much for the landfill? Have you heard the report that it's so extreme that it can't be chucked out? I'm sure you have. So what is the question I'm trying to ask you is, can you repeat to me why you don't want to truck it out, you feel it's unsafe?
I think the only thing I said was the best evidence we had
Why?
to date.
What is it?
Well, the lack that it hasn't been done anywhere, and in this kind of scale, is number one. And number two was the reports from both DEP and our specialist on how much gas was in there,
Right.
levels that have never been seen before.
Mhm.
So those are very big numbers,
So you,
very scary numbers. And
Made up
quite frankly,
numbers.
when I see something like that, there's the proven method, and then there's the unproven method. And when you're talking about something to that caliber, I spent a lot of time thinking about it, and I chose not to experiment with our residents and do what has been done successfully in the past in other places.
well, I was told that also that they could not truck it out because it was the most they've ever seen in any landfill. And I'm not quite sure how they will be able to treat this particular landfill if it's something they haven't worked with before, number one.
Well, they've worked with it, just not to this level, this
Not to
amount of
this
gas.
level, that's why they're not going to truck it out. So we're wondering how they're going to control it inside the landfill. It is new to them, just as it is new to truck it out, they can't do it. So that's one situation that we have, is it could be just as dangerous to leave it in that landfill than to truck it out, because it's unknown facts. And that's only one unknown fact, which we really don't know what will happen. But then also, of course, we have the core samples and the rest of the mess in there. So between all those facts, it seems like it would be a better chance for us if we trucked it out. It's common sense.
No,
Because-
it has been done. It's been done by the DEP
Oh, I'm sure.
at the Warren landfill. So this exact process has been done, not only in New Jersey, but across the country. So again, the trucking it out aspect of it, while at first I started leaning that way, but I always said all along that I wanted to wait to see what the professionals said and take the best information I can and not go with my heartstrings, but represent the people as a whole. And I feel that I've done that with my decision. Again, can only speak for myself.
I understand that, but I don't think that you've reviewed the complete trucking out benefits. And I don't think we've heard enough of that. I've heard from our own group here that we can add to the benefits of trucking it out rather than leaving it here. And we would like to work on that process in the future. I don't think we should close this up yet. This is a real serious situation that we can go into a little bit further. And I think that's what we should do. I don't think that we're prepared to work on captive fill, and we're not even prepared to keep these scrubbers and monitors running.
Well, when you say we, it's not us, it's the DEP. And, you know, the easy thing for us would have been is to walk away from our report. And we talked about that. We could have said, hey, the DEP told us they're not changing anything. What's the point of our report? What's the point of our report if they're not going to change based upon the information? We felt that we owed it to you because we put money, time, and expense to share the information that our professionals independently came up with. So you could either agree or disagree, but you'd have another base of information to help you understand the process that's going down, or to whether it was to agree or oppose what the DEP is doing. So that's all we tried to do is get the best information.
But we're not getting the best information because the monitor Saturday was down. It's been down for Easter. It was down. The people coming in to take a
The
test,
best
and all
information
the monitors
available to
aren't
us.
working. How could you have a true test?
The best information available to us. Mr. Rath, you want to?
Yeah,
Mr. Riley, if you had, if we could be confident that the past year those monitors were working the way they should have been working, and that everything was working smoothly, and now we're going to move on here and cover this, that would be one thing. But, you know, to ask people to be sick every time they feel like closing off these monitors when the numbers read high, how are we to have confidence when you cap this land that these things are gonna work? We want it trucked out so we'll be safe.
I understand. Mr. Ratz?
The monitors do recharge, and there are times that they will go offline for a period of time. Our staff notifies them, I notify them, the residents notify them.
Doesn't help, the whole day it's gone, the whole day is
Or I
covered in
believe
loss.
The
one
danger's
monitor,
already out there.
gotta remember, there's numerous monitors. One monitor was down for about 4 to 5 hours.
Because there was no readings at all on the monitors. I called up the DEP, the Emergency Environmental.
If you, now I keep the monitors on my desktop, both here and at home, but I'm not always sitting there. 973-219-0617. For anybody, you see monitor go down, that's my cell phone number. Call me.
Are they always gonna go down? Are we gonna have this problem?
That's
They're
the
up,
problem?
they're up far more, they're up 95% of the time, and they
Yeah,
are
but
up far more.
Do we have a backup? Do we have a backup? Do we have a generator? Do we have a electric? If it goes down and the electric goes off? I mean, we really have no protection yet, in my opinion. I think we should have all this covered.
Again, the monitors are there to detect the gas that's coming off the facility. So, and that's what they're doing on a very, 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 very reliable basis compared to what you have out there. Now, that is actually something that this agency will look at. They will look at the type of monitors, the number of monitors are out there, because in one of their very first assessments that we got, they came back and said that the monitors that the health department was using at that site were not the best monitors. They only registered at parts per million, not parts per billion, which is what we have. So we're going to get information such as that.
All right, well, I just hope that we hold up a little bit on anything and look into trucking it out. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Crowley?
Marguerite, please sit down. I just wanted to make a comment. One is, I looked at our experts report and tried to understand it as best to my ability for one thing, and that was to look for information that was something different that I could go to the DEP and say, you should be looking at this with the decision that you made. I didn't see anything in our report that made a material real difference to what the DEP wanted to go do. And I sided with what we put out as some people have called as a press release, that those are the facts that we got from our experts. They're better than me in assessing everything. I did not see anything in there that was really contrary to what the DEP was saying. Furthermore, he said in that statement, and I really believe
I can't hear you, Joe.
we're not finished yet. As we find new information, and we did go to court to try to get sampling done, we'll continue to keep doing things, the AT-SDR, if information comes without, whatever. You know, a month ago, we didn't know that the AT-DSO report was going to come. We spent time tonight trying to understand even what it is and stuff. But I think as a counselor, I'll speak definitely for myself, I plan to be up here and trying to understand that and making sure that we have the best remedy possible. Our expert report told us one piece of the information. That's what I went by.
Thank you, Mr. Crowley. Thank you, Marguerite. Yes, ma'am.
What is he calling
Nancy Bush, 6 Rock First Place in Ledgewood. I don't have a technical question or notes or anything, but I do have a question in my mind that keeps haunting me. It goes back a few months ago when Fort Lee had an issue with Governor Christie. I think everybody realizes how serious that issue became. He was in everybody's face screaming. And I think you guys have been trying to handle this in a gentlemanly kind of way and maybe not getting in everyone's face the way, was it Mayor Markleff?
Something like that.
Markleff, difficult, yeah. But my question is, I felt like there was a serious parallel between what was happening in our town and what happened in Fort Lee with the Bridgegate situation. To me, it's maybe different in a lot of ways, but similar in a lot of ways. I watched CNN when that news broke, and Wolf Blitzer was commentating, and his comment at the end, he was shocked at what happened. How could Governor Christie do this? There will be an investigation, blah, blah, blah. At the end of his comment, Wolf Blitzer said, he shook his head and he said,
perhaps this is so strange, something like so strange, perhaps other towns will come forward and tell a similar story. Now, I see a parallel in the governor, people that work for the governor, and whether it was him or his people, they're socking it to the people. They're socking it to the town, whether it was for retribution or whatever. I don't care what the reason was. To me, it's the same situation. I spoke to my granddaughter recently. We were doing some sewing project, and I had to use the word parallel with her. She's a 5-year-old, and she got the word parallel right away. She understood what it meant. Do we understand that? Is there a parallel? Can somebody tell me, is there a parallel, or should I just forget it? That this is just my...
I don't see it as one. I see it as different. I mean, this project started before, with another administration before this one, so, and it hasn't been adversarial from that perspective. That doesn't mean that there's some issues here along the way with the DEP, et cetera.
But the parallel to me is that everybody's questioning, when does Christie tell the truth, when does he lie? He's been lying about this is not his problem, and nobody should do anything about it because it started 30 years ago. That's a lie. So whether he lied with Fort Lee or didn't, he's lying now. And I just have to ask, how did the network give that so much attention? How did that get so much attention? And ours were struggling to get the attention we needed. Was it because, and I'm not asking you, Mr. Riley, because you inherited, you inherited this like everyone else, but at some point, the Fort Lee mayor got fed up and made a lot of racket, enough for people to stand up and say there's a problem here. We have a problem. It's just as serious to us, when we're so.
It's worse. It's worse.
The people that were in traffic for 4 days, and I know it was like threatening for the poor lady that died in the ambulance that day. I spoke to Bob Zelli at the meeting that they presented their findings, and we had a break in our meeting, and I approached him and I said, what I just told to you, isn't there a parallel here? And he says, yes, and your situation is much worse. So why don't we have the attention that they have?
Well, actually, the attention to that situation was brought by their senator that covers Fort Lee. And our senator has been in touch with Trenton at every level. Please,
See,
I'm sorry.
I don't know all the facts. I don't know all the facts,
Yeah.
but I have this question that's troubling to me. Every day I think about it. I say, why Fort Lee and not us? Why do we have to go through this for years and years and years? And how did it ever get so far? We've been talking about it for years.
Without question, when we found out about it, the first time we were able to get them up here to try to explain to us what was happening before we even realized what was happening. We were at those early meetings at Franklin and at the senior center. You know, this started early on, but long before we realized what was happening. So, you know, and a lot's transpired since then, and most of it to be very unhappy about.
Christie was in power.
You agree is warranted. It's warranted.
I don't think anybody's ever questioned
No.
it.
But I don't know how to get that attention that he got, that mayor got. What do we do? How does that happen?
Well, like I said, that senator, I'm not sure exactly, you know, I didn't watch that in the beginning, but yeah, she went after him for quite some time until they
It
found
wasn't
some.
that long because it was September of last year. And by early this year, they were on to it. It was like, September,
Technically, he's supposed to treat Morris County better than he does Jersey City.
Yeah.
That's another story.
What transpired, what the press picked up on, how they picked up on that, you know, I can't speak to that. I'm not sure that there is a true parallel, but and quite frankly, I think our situation is much worse than Fort Lee.
Don't even come here and apologize. We don't want you to apologize. It's just he wanted to expose them. So it's like we can't do that because it's his department.
We've had many disagreements with them. In fact, Fred Hall, the mayor last year, actually was up here on top of the mountain with State Senator, Majority Leader Sweeney, and discussing items with him and working to get things done from both sides of the aisle. So, This is not, in fact, the legislation that passed bipartisanship. So we've done a lot to try to get there. You know, and that's what, you know, like I said, both sides of the aisle. You would think both sides working to a common goal would be more productive than one trying to beat the other up. Here we had a positive thing of both sides trying to work together, as Fred did with them last year, trying to get to an end game that would make Roxbury Township whole. And it's been turn after turn after turn, a fight. So I don't see the parallels, but I understand it. I understand the concerns.
I feel it. To me, it's a town in trouble for whatever time they had. We're a town in trouble, and we can't seem to get the right attention.
Yeah, you need to speak up.
Speak up.
Yeah.
No,
I'm sorry.
That was
Mr. Hall wanted to say something.
That's it. I just had to air it because I didn't speak up at the last meeting that we had where,
Listen,
Please.
okay.
I think your comments are in two areas. Area number one is what's the governor saying in regards to what's happening in Roxbury? And number two, you know, what is he doing as a result of, you know, the final solution, whether or not you agree or disagree with that. Frankly, some of his comments are not true. We said it.
Well, everybody wants
I
to
mean,
know
it's,
if
you
it's
know,
right or not.
to go ahead and blame Roxbury for something, you know, happened 30 years, come on. Our big issues happened, I remember going outside November of 2012, going to the shopping mall. I almost got knocked over with the smell.
That's happened.
Let's call it like we see it, you know what I mean? That's when it really got really, really bad. So the comment is inappropriate and unacceptable, okay? So that's number one. As far as the other half of your point, as far as the other half, whether or not it's, you know, whether or not they should truck it out, or, you know, whether or not, you know, he's got his opinions on certain things, and, you know, there's pieces of that, you know, frankly, I don't agree with, so. Go ahead.
Well, like Mr. Whitler says, you can't challenge a state agency, safe housing department of.
Well, you know, in the past, like Mr. Riley said, we try to work with them, you know what I mean? It's, you know, thanks to everybody out there to help us out with things like, you know, getting the legislation passed and, you know, getting a temporary solution. You know, we tried, we had a good level of success. Now we're in the final solution phase, and, you know, now this is it. This is the final, you know, solution.
See, I
to
have
this.
trouble feeling it's the final solution unless we've done for testing.
Well, again, and that's why we took them to court in order to get that, because we felt it was an important thing to do.
Thank you, Nancy. Anybody else in the public wish to be heard? Yes, ma'am, in the back.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Marie Felix, Pumpkin Road. And basically, I just want to give my opinion on what you just stated, and then I have a question.
Sure.
So to me, it's like Sandygate. I mean, the governor made a big press on how great he was with Sandy. He was a hero. And now, to have bad press, according to what he did with Sandy, he's going to cover it up, because he doesn't want the bad press. Now, back to my question. Basically, you know, I had this last time we met, and my question is this. Am I going to get an itemized bill in regards to the expense of trucking it out? Because that trucking it out is very high, that value. And I even brought it over to Picatinny, and they're like, what? So I'd like to see an itemized bill on how the experts came up with that.
I believe he did put it together, but quite frankly, I didn't let the cost play a factor into my personal decision. Mr. Hall, you have something to say?
Well, I'm sure the DEP did.
Yeah, let me
I'm
get this
sorry.
straight. I was not at the last meeting, so please
Okay, sorry.
back me up here. You're looking for an itemized bill as it relates to the ongoing cost for truck, not just
The
two
expense
trucks?
of
The actual
trucking.
work.
Or just two trucks?
The work.
Okay, I just wanted to understand, thank you.
And he did provide you a cost estimate for that, but
Yeah.
obviously it's not as detailed as you'd like.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
It's just one big,
Well, no, he gave per tonnage costs, he gave hours of work, he gave an itemized list.
I want to see the entire.
Well, how about I think that probably is. What else would you like besides the hours that will work, the number of hours he thought it would be, the number of truck trips that he thought it would be, the per ton cost that he thought it would be, the man hours that he thought it would be, the 10% contingency that he put in there? What else would you like?
First of all, I'd like to see realistic numbers.
Okay, now that's different.
Okay.
Let's be, what you
Okay.
want to see is different numbers.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so
Like,
I want to
can
see
go back-
those numbers.
But you want, okay,
Realistic numbers.
so if you have, and you've been to Picatinny,
That's right.
so if you have a landfill that they say you can go to at less money, provide us that information.
I'll provide you the expenses, what it is to truck it out. That's no problem.
Oh, good, well, good,
Okay.
then we'll take a
And-
look at it.
Okay, good. And then are we going to reconsider?
Well, it depends on what your expenses, how accurate your expenses are, obviously.
Yeah, they're not.
Well, quite frankly, I wouldn't, because that's not why I base my decision on,
Right.
but I'm one of 7, as you know.
But I would like to see
You know,
your numbers.
Jim, you based your decision, okay, not on that, but because of the possibility of fumes coming out when you truck it out, and how dangerous it is to the community. But
Well,
did
they're coming
anybody
out.
base that decision when they trucked it in? Because I remember when it was coming down my road in Conkling, and the fumes were coming right off it, and no one stopped it.
Oh,
That's not accurate.
Ooh.
Mr. Ratz?
we went to court. Does everybody remember Judge Wilson walking the site?
That's
Was
right.
anybody there with Judge Wilson when she walked the site and smelled it? And we said, Judge Wilson, smell that?
And who appointed this judge?
Twice we tried to stop it.
These
And-
judges.
And she both times said no, because it's a greater health. She bought into the concept that the old landfill needed to be capped and it was a greater health risk than him bringing in material.
And she was misinformed, unfortunately.
She decided to go to a private group for environmental assessment and ignore the DEP at that
Correct.
point in time, who was supportive with us in trying to close them down way back when.
And listen, it's really important that you get this information because it's all on those timelines that are on that table out there as well too. So you can take a look at that and that might answer some of the questions. But yeah, we took him to court. The DEP took him to court and the township joined in with him to try and stop him from trucking that material in.
I remember that.
And another
Absolutely.
judge that was appointed by maybe the governor, right?
No, I believe that judge was a long-standing judge.
Yeah.
In fact,
30
they
years.
just retired.
Yeah.
That judge just, she.
I don't know, I just think, you know, if I was on the council, just me personally, okay, I think I would have made, when the first truck came, I would have been standing there, right there, and telling them, take me down. Just me. And I will get you that estimate.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Maria.
We'll take a look at it.
And I want to, yeah.
Thanks, Marie.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Paris Palace, Conant Street, Sakasana. Aren't you guys exhausted? I mean, think about this. This is a long time that this has been happening. And I know you're not happy, even with your own decision. And I know that you relied on scientists to make your decisions. Unfortunately, the DP, personally, has given you a bunch of crap, okay? And also, your report, this 300-page report, whatever, was done. I disagree with most of the information on there. Scientifically, it baffles me as scientists. And your comment about the landfill and the school, you said they took it out and they put a liner, they put a landfill
And they
liners.
line it,
That's
that's
right.
Yeah.
With no problem with that. They
Right.
created what they call a sanitary landfill.
That's correct.
All of New Jersey used to be open dumps.
That's right.
And then about 30 years ago, the state decided that we have so much garbage,
That's
we have to do something about this.
Yeah.
Because no other state would accept our garbage. So we created what they call sanitary landfills.
Well, you remember Roxbury was, Mount Olive, was supposed to have an incinerator years ago?
Yes,
And we put the kibosh to that?
right.
Years ago?
But the point that I'm trying to tell you is, Fenimore is not Sawfield. I'm sorry. I know you did a lot of research there. It's not Sawfield. Fenimore is Fenimore. And it's not your area that you just said they built a landfill. They built a sanitary landfill. Fine. I would accept that. I would accept if they take all that crap out of there and put a sanitary landfill liners, it would not affect us. That's what the problem is. The problem is that the old garbage dumps, they still exist, and they've been capped, and there are no problems because The material that was put in there is not the material that's put in there right now, in the last 2 years. So that's the problem, guys. Your scientists are not leading you properly, okay? And I feel really badly for you because you are the scapegoats. All of you are the scapegoats for what's going on in this state. You know what? Christie does what he does, the DEP does what he does, and meanwhile, you're the ones that are holding the bag. And you're the ones who are going to be the ones that are going to be blamed for everything, as you're already being blamed. And I really think that you guys are working your butts off trying to come up with the best solution, but I really think that your decision that you made in a short period of time without really communicating with each other is really way off. It really is not acceptable. I really feel badly for you because even your scientists don't give you the right information. It doesn't take a lot of, intelligence. It's common sense. Solid waste breaks down. And another thing that bothers me is they made a comment that no methane. Give me a break. Methanes are developed everywhere. And they're very flammable, they're very combustible, and they're also very fatal. And Fenimore is producing methanes. I don't know why they would even say something like that. And also Zelli's made a comment that the mass of the garbage is going to break down. Give me a break. Glass takes 1 million years to break down. Plastics take 300, 400 years to break down. Metals, 800 years. Everything you've ever thrown away in your whole life is still around in the garbage dump. Okay? And it will be around for a very long time. The mass of the landfill will not break down in a couple of years. And the fact that these poisons and toxins are being emitted is a very sad thing. I would love for them to build a landfill and put that stuff in there. That would be ideal. But it ain't going to happen according to the DEP because they made their own decision. That is wrong. Because that's continuous toxins. Okay? And I feel badly for you because you guys are going to be the ones that are going to be blamed for everything as you are being blamed. You need to stand up and you need to educate the DEP and Governor Christie and all those people who make the decision. Enough's enough. We've had it.
Go get him.
Anybody else in the public wish to be heard in the back?
Michelle Stone for Irving Court. Mr. Hall, you sent a letter to Governor Christie a few months ago, right? When you were mayor.
I did send him a letter and then sent him a follow-up, yes, sir.
Did you ever get a response?
No.
Okay, so you just said a little while ago that what he's saying is not true, it's unacceptable. So why aren't you approaching the governor?
We talking now or in the past?
Now.
In the past, I tried a number of times to reach his office. They didn't respond.
Never give up the ship.
Well, that goes for you, Mr. Hall, and Mr. Riley. You said the same thing. The situation is much worse than in Fort Lee. Why are we going to the press and calling out the governor? Why?
Yes.
Mayor called out Governor Christie. You mentioned the senator. Why are we doing that? It was on CNN. Why are we going to the press? Channel 7, Channel 2, Channel 4.
And we'll stand behind you. We'll stand behind you.
And asking, telling the governor what he said was not true and it's unacceptable, what he's been saying.
He has been lying, outright lying.
What's the answer?
I asked Fred Hall first, so you can answer first.
Well, listen, in the past, when he said things that were incorrect, you know what I mean, I did call him out. You people were here when I did that. Okay?
I'm talking about
And I
going
did do it publicly.
No, in the news though. No, in the news. And an editorial in the Daily Record, or go to Channel 7, or...
Actually, I was up there with Channel 12 discussing this. I was on 710 discussing his solution. What more do you want me to do?
Well, he just told untrue comments now, though, that it's been a problem for 30 years. He just recently put out false information. So I'm talking about right now, the present.
First of all, I just heard that earlier today, as far as that piece. As far as this happened. Please let me talk in the back. Okay? I did not know that he said that. And obviously, I commented on that tonight, and I basically stated, if he said that this is going on for 30 years, that I disagree. I just stated that. I disagree with that statement. I told you when it started happening. November 2012, we started getting the smells in town.
Okay, so you're gonna go to the radio station again, or Channel 12 News, and talk about
We
it?
just need to get it out there, they're saying, that's all they're saying. We know that you have been saying it.
Just like we sent out press releases to,
Well, we gotta be a little bit stronger about it.
Chris would have to tell me the outlets, but I think we sent them out to all outlets.
We know you've been doing
So,
stuff.
you know, there has to be a willingness on their side to want to print it. I mean, I know some information that was given not too long ago that went nowhere, because if the press doesn't want to do it, or they don't find it juicy enough, they don't. I don't know what to say.
Well, make it juicy. How about 7 on your side, or
This is pretty juicy.
Kane came out,
Can everybody be quiet, please?
When was the last time you tried to do that, though, Jim?
Was it, I'm sorry, the outlets?
Oh, we send them out to 7, we send them out to 10, we send them out to all the newspapers, we send them out to the radio stations. You know, we send that information out.
Is that all on the website, Chris?
Oh, of course,
Okay.
all of our press releases are on the website, and they're entitled to who they are.
When was the last time you did it, though? The very last time?
Trust governors.
Well, we sent out a press release just the other day, Friday.
that the governor's a liar.
Right, about the 30 years, he's saying that it's been a problem. He just said it a couple weeks ago in Long Hill Township. So I'm saying, why can't you call a press conference with the news media about that?
I would, because I was out of the country, I didn't see that yet. I'm with Fred, and Fred had a personal issue, but I haven't seen that exact quote. I've seen some other things that I wasn't.
It was brought up at last week's meeting, Jim.
I know, and I
Right.
said the same thing then. I haven't had an opportunity to go look at that tape, that YouTube.
Well, did anybody else on the council see it?
I saw.
Or recall that you did, Mike?
I heard about it just today.
Right, because you weren't here.
It's on the
I
website.
wasn't here last
It's on
week, but,
Facebook.
It's YouTube, right? So,
It's
how about this? I promise you I'll take a look at it tomorrow.
Okay, all right, thanks. One more thing, the scrubber, I think it was Good Friday. I noticed I went down Mountain Road a couple times during the day and it was off. I'm just wondering why.
Well, yes, they were doing some normal repairs on it. It was down for about 4 hours. And I can tell you that we were not giving information in advance of that. We laid out Ed Putnam and his crew for not giving us advance notice and that kind of work, and that's what they were doing on the site. So I'm glad you guys observed that. He sent me an email after the fact, and obviously we were not too happy with that.
Okay, well, you're gonna document that that's unacceptable? I mean, I'm not going down.
You sent an
I
email
sent an
out.
email to him. I sent an email out to Ed Putnam.
Okay.
Saying that's unacceptable. You need to tell our people in advance when something's gonna be, when you're gonna bring that machinery offline, so we can take the appropriate action.
Okay, maybe next time we're in the Roxbury Register or we're in a local paper, we can mention that the DEP had it down for 4 hours.
Mike, the DEP had it down for 4 hours. I can, if you call me tomorrow, I'll give you all the tickets.
Yeah, you know what, one more thing from
Friday,
Mr.
Good
Caputo right
Friday.
here, because I'm having health issues myself, and I'm a private person, it's only the second time I've come up here. It's noted at my endocrinologist that I went to see. I'll be going back the end of May, so you'll have that information. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public wish to be heard? Yes, ma'am.
Maureen Castriata, 7 Road Landing. I'm not sympathetic as Ms. Palace is to you at all. I think you're great tap dancers, and I hold you personally responsible as much as anybody else who's involved in this. As far as getting the word out, hold a press conference. Why can't you do that?
We'll consider it.
You'll consider it. Are you? I would like to know. Are you afraid of Governor Christie and having any wrath
No.
come down on you? No.
Because he is capable.
You're all fine about it. So you'll consider it holding a press conference.
Yeah, but
Thank you.
I wouldn't do it based upon your advice. I would do it based upon sound advice. But go ahead, Ms.
So, Jim, this is why I have no sympathy, because this is what you relegate to, personal insults. You make it personal. Yeah, you do. But I don't care about you, Jim, because we all know you got issues. But now, Fred, you weren't at the last special meeting. Well, you know what? You give it, you're gonna get it back.
That's fine.
If, the last meeting, the special meeting, you weren't there. So I would like to know, Jim made a statement. I don't know if it was on behalf of all the council members, because
My
they're very,
statement was quite clear for anybody that was there that night, and I was asked again later on that night, and I said, we did not talk to Mr. Hall about it because he's been out with
right.
personal issues.
So my question to Mr. Hall is, do you agree with the DEP to cap the landfill? Are you on the side of
We
the
do not have
constituents?
all of the information that's required at this particular time.
Right.
In order to, the assumption was made by this council based on the information that they had. They have not yet provided us with enough information here, okay, to help us move this thing along.
Okay. So do you agree with Mayor Riley's statement? Are you in agreement that the DEP should cap the landfill rather than truck it out as your constituents?
I may
would
come up
like?
with the, listen, guys.
Yes or no?
Let me answer.
I'm asking you if you, they told us they agree with the DEP to cap the landfill. I'm asking you if you do.
They did, they said it.
Let me back up.
Yes or no?
For the record, the reason why I wasn't at last Tuesday's meeting is because my wife had an operation.
I'm sorry, yes, but my
Okay?
question is
So
about the
I had a
landfill.
very personal issue and I was not able to be there.
Okay, but what does that
Okay?
have to do with
So
my
that's the
question?
reason why I wasn't there.
I didn't
Okay?
ask about that.
Ms. Castriot, just show a little respect. He's trying to answer your question, please. Go ahead, Mr.
Tap
Hall.
dancing. It's very good. Go ahead.
Trying to speak over someone's harder. Mr. Hall, please
We
answer
need-
the president's question.
We have not received all of the information, and I think in that press release that the council had, they had mentioned in there they would change their mind if in fact they got more information. Now, good news is, Maureen, is the fact that we were able to get the ATSDR in, okay? The ATSDR is going to perform some additional information for us, give us more information. It may turn out that capping is the best result. It may turn out that it isn't the best result. But let's see, let's get all the information, okay? That information's coming in, it may change everybody's opinion going forward.
That's 6 months from now.
But what
Sorry,
is
but
your
that's 6
opinion
months.
now? The opinion we got from Mayor Riley is that they agree with the capping of the landfill. Is that your opinion as of
I'm
now?
undecided right now.
You're undecided, okay, so it's not unanimous. Thank you for your answer, I appreciate that. Now, what I don't understand, Richard, are you even planning to be living in Roxbury in a few years? That's what I would love to see, a show of hands, because I know Mr. Madeira's asked, about 10 years down the road, how many of you plan to be here 10 years?
You plan on being here 10 years now?
Okay, come on.
Yeah, actually, this is
Can't
what,
tell the future.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Ms.
I don't know what's
Castriot.
gonna happen.
what, thank you. I'm
Your time,
asking a
your
question.
time.
Oh, my time is up?
Actually, I'll
Okay,
let you go.
but Chris said he would have the dollar amount for the reports, for the report.
No, I
Yeah,
believe
you did.
I'm gonna be provided the
Correct.
dollar amounts.
Marie's gonna supply.
Marie's gonna supply those to me.
No. For your expert report, I asked you at a special
Oh, yeah,
meeting, and you said you get that
Yeah, we are working on
information.
it. Yes, we
You
are.
don't have the information.
I don't have that for you right now.
And one last question, what ordinance or bylaw do you have, can you tell me, about the conduct of your meetings? Because I couldn't find one.
It's Robert's Rules of Order. It can be changed in many ways, so, yeah. You mean
But
you're
what
talking about the
ordinance-
3-minute rule?
No, I'm asking, what ordinance or bylaw do you have in place about the conduct of your meeting?
I'm not sure exactly what you mean by conduct.
voting?
You're talking about the limitation of time?
Everything, yes, how you conduct your meeting, your agenda, your limitation of time. What bylaw or,
Mr. Price?
No, this is a council form of government where the council actually determines its own manner of governance and how it governs the meeting. Generally, the mayor is the chairman of the meeting, and is charged with actually conducting the meeting. And rules that they want to adopt, and they can change from time to time, is done generally
it's
with
at their
consensus
whim?
of the
That's highly unusual, because as an elected official,
Thank you.
most
Thank you for your time.
councils, school boards have an ordinance, a policy, a bylaw that regulates their conduct of their meeting, and I would advise that you would do the same.
Maureen, I can get that from Ms. Castrell.
Thank you.
She wants to know, I'm gonna straight code.
I'll be here the next one. I'm not going away.
Bob Schultz, Mapledale Avenue, Succothana. Jim, you made a statement that trucking it out has never been done before, correct? You just said that before.
Any large scale, yes.
Right. Well, everything has always been done a first time. I just want to make that statement.
And I agree, and I said based upon the amount of times that, that it's been capped successfully versus the amount of times, and the unavailable data to support trucking it out, my concern was the risk to the residents. We could agree to disagree, but that was my
You
concern.
definitely did. I just wanted to make that statement. I just want to make sure that, so the 3-minute time limit, did that just start tonight or last time? Because
Well, we started
we've
last
never had
time.
that here before, so that's what I was wondering,
Because we have other council business to take care of, and we've actually been pushing quite a few things off. So we're trying to have a civil meeting, and still trying to be fair, because quite frankly, the 3-minute rule has been very lax, if you haven't paid attention, so.
It wasn't for Bill, and then it was for most of the other people.
Well, even,
Relax.
actually, Bill went, Bill went almost 5 minutes.
The police test.
We were talking,
More than about 3 minutes.
the decision for the report was made via email, you said, at the open meeting. You guys didn't have a meeting to decide on the
Most
township's
of my
report.
conversations took place over the phone with a couple of different council people. And
So you polled everybody via phone and then?
Yeah, I didn't speak to everybody directly, and we generally agreed on the comments that were put together. I could tell you Mr. DiFilippo wrote it, so.
The statement, you mean?
The statement. So, yep.
And that was made that day, the day of the meeting?
Yeah, I think so.
No, the statement, the draft of the statement
That
was the day
explains it all.
before, we spoke to each other, I spoke to every single council person except Mr. Hall, but a personal.
Right, I know Mr. Hall's problem.
So everyone had a chance to review it, comment on it, and then respond.
I don't remember exactly, there was 2 days, but I'm not positive.
We were talking about methane. Have there been any methane issues up there?
The last methane issues that I know of were mentioned in the 2005 report, and the 2005 Berger report indicated that just at the center of the facility was methane. You have to remember, methane is a byproduct of a lot of waste, but that facility had been vacant for 30 years. So most of the methane issues had already transpired. I also want, and you're aware of this because you went out on the site and you saw their first initial flare operation. When they put the flare in, I know you shake your head because if you recall, those flares were supposed to operate on the methane that was generated from that landfill. And there wasn't enough methane generated to operate the flares. Then if you recall, they brought in propane.
Right, to supplement.
To supplement, and they were not able to supplement the methane. Methane is traditionally a significant issue on landfills, but you go back and look at the reports and look at the tests, and you can see that though, because of time, those issues may have subsided in the Fenimore landfill condition.
But maybe they're so compact that they don't allow biodegradability or
They
breakdown.
had test wells, and and when they did the 2005 report, they actually dug down trying to find methane and put it in test wells. So I took a minute of his time, but I understand
No,
the
I
shaking.
wasn't cutting him off. I was leading him to his next question.
Well, it's all part of the methane. So there was no, has anybody done any other testing up there for methane? Did SAP do it? Did the DEP do it? Did you guys do it? Because I know you do have access to the site, which you could do methane testing.
I can't recall if DEP recently tested for methane, but that is something that if the ATSDR came in and recommended methane testing be done, that it could be done. Along with a lot of other tests as well too.
Does the township plan on doing any testing before the APDSR comes in? Because we know they don't do testing. They physically don't do testing.
Well, if they were to recommend more, we would do more, but we'll continue doing all the H2S testing and the SO2 testing that we've been doing for the last, God, I don't know, guys, a long time.
I remember an article that Mike Condon wrote back in 2012, if I'm not mistaken, about methane issues on the site.
Bob, all I can tell you is you can go back to the reports. You can see that they tried to run methane on those systems, and they weren't getting enough methane to run those systems.
Was there testing done in some residential around the peripherals?
Actually, you're right.
I think there was
You're
some
right.
testing done around the peripherals.
You're right, there was, because, and we'll see if we can't get those. Those were when he first started coming on site.
Yeah, you were still on the environmental commission when we did it.
You know
I think they were in
what,
charge
the
of
mayor.
Who did the testing? Who were we talking about?
SEP did the testing at the request of the DEP. So I'll see if I can't find it.
Right, they did do testing there. They dug a bunch of additional test pits there, and they found that levels were anywhere from 10% all the way to 60% methane.
I don't
Back in
believe-
2012.
We need to see those reports.
I knew
I
it.
have it right here.
Okay,
I knew
so, again, and that was at the interior of the site, it was not
Sense.
migrating off.
That doesn't have
There was no proof of that because no testing was further done by the DEP or SEP.
Because it wasn't required.
It was recommended to do, and the DEP never came in and did that, even though it was recommended.
God.
And I have the whole report right here.
Yeah, I don't remember the results, but we just said we're gonna check on it and pull it.
You know,
So-
that would be,
Post it.
you know, I appreciate that you have the report. So the question could have been, you know, Chris, I have a report here, have you seen it lately?
Well, I would just want to see what you remembered, what you didn't remember.
So
Actually,
I appreciate you bringing it to my attention.
and I have it here. It was actually notes from a meeting.
You know, you accuse me of not knowing
We
what I'm
eventually
talking
got
about.
to remembering it.
Read it, read it, Bob.
Yeah.
And I can read, frankly, I can't find the highlighted section in here because it didn't print out that way, so.
There are notes
But-
from what meeting, Bob?
A meeting from, actually, you guys, or was
What's the date of it, Bob?
August 1st, 2012.
Okay, I'll take a
And
look.
I looked on the township website, and we actually found this a different way, so.
I'll take a look at it.
Because that's when the asbestos was going on as well at that time, and the asbestos was never tested by the DEP as well. Not that we expected you to test for asbestos. You know, we expected SCP or DEP to do so, and they didn't. And it doesn't have the results in here, that's a separate attachment.
Bottom of page 7, Bob.
Huh?
Bottom
Bottom
of
page 7, Bob.
Say so, Bill.
Mr.
Well, we don't want to take
Thank
your
you
time
for
up by
helping
doing that, so if you'll send it to me.
Yeah, we'll get it, we'll leave it posted.
I get, the point I'm making about the methane is not only is it a danger to the health risks, you know, of the people, there was supposed to be testing done at 37 houses in Poets Peak, which was never done as well. They were supposed to put monitoring wells on public property, which I don't think ever happened either that I know of. Nobody ever contacted those residents, and that just kind of got pushed aside.
Let us, we don't want to misspeak and have it haunt us later, so let us get
It's
the
okay,
factual data.
I'm stating the facts out of the
and
report,
supply.
so.
That's
I
good.
just-
And supply.
And my concern is, because we've talked about the fire issue up there, and that Mr. Zelli said there was no risk of fire up there because there wasn't enough organic matter. But there is methane gas, and there's certainly enough organic matter, because all those trees were buried up there. So if you have an LEL of 5% to 15, to the HEL 15% of methane, that's explosive. One spark, it fires up, and then you have an issue.
Yeah, let's
And
take a look
paper
at that.
dumped
And we'll
there.
get that to Mr. Zelli. By the way, you reminded me of something. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. April 23rd, which is tomorrow, 2 o'clock, Morris County Soils Conservation will be holding their hearing on the soil moving permits. We sent out an alert, we sent that on our, we put that on our press. And just want to let you guys know, that's usually a typically small room, but that is going out.
Are you guys going for it?
Mike Kovalar will be going.
Just Mike? Thank you.
Mr. Crowell?
So, one question. I don't know if I got lost in your statements, but how does the amount of methane help the scenario of trucking it out?
How does the amount of methane?
Well, I know reactive.
Well, we don't know.
We're here looking for a truck it out. And my question is, you brought up something, as I said earlier, I'm looking for information to
And
try
they
to
put it to a
burst
proper landfill.
the DEP. But the statement you made about methane, which from what I understood was there's been no methane.
Right.
But I was getting a little confused because if you're for trucking it out, and you're asking about methane, how do they fit together?
Well, it doesn't
think that
actually,
would
right
be
now,
an
because we don't know what's going on now. That was 2 years ago, unfortunately.
Send those to me, because
being
if I recall, it was actually SEP who produced those numbers as well too, Bob.
They did,
So
Bashir from Matrix.
please send those
Or
to me.
Birdsall, it was Birdsall,
Please
sorry.
send those to me, because anything that SEP is associated with, we all agree, everybody agrees, needs to be critically looked at. So please send those to me.
Yeah, and that all goes back to the DEP and their mismanagement and ineptitude here of not taking care of a problem that was existing on the site in 2012, and they just kind of just fluttered it off. I can't find any documentation after that
Another
about
reason
this
why I have
issue.
to truck out.
And I was completely surprised when I read this yesterday about it, so,
Glad to look at it, Bob.
thank you.
Anybody else in the public wish to be heard? Yes, ma'am.
And that's the sad thing about it, they're misinformed.
Hi, Brenda Isherwood, Univers Avenue, South. I heard a couple of people talk about the monitors being down, and that was something that I wanted to speak about. And Chris, if you read my email today, you probably have an idea of what I'm going to say. On April 10th, I noticed Roxbury 10 was down. And I emailed Chris and Rick Flood, and Chris responded right away and copied Bruce Groves and Matt Decker at Emmett for them to answer my question. I only check the monitors once a day while I'm at work. I check the monitors if it's a nice day when I'm going to head home to see which way to ride my bike. Lately, it's never been towards Emmons Road, unfortunately. It's a nice area to ride. On 4/15, I had the opportunity to speak to Bruce Groves at the town council meeting held at Horseshoe Lake, and he answered my question personally. Still, I mentioned to him I had never had a response. On Monday, the 21st of this week, I found the email, and I emailed everyone and said that I hadn't had a response, and basically, you know, it would have been nice had I gotten a response, because had I not had the opportunity to see Bruce, it would have been 11 days since I'd heard from anybody. It was a very short email, it wasn't lengthy to read. Well, today Matt Decker emailed Chris back, even though it was my question. Maybe he didn't quite understand who was sending the email. And he emailed to Chris, copying me to my question, saying that he's sorry that he had noticed on Easter Sunday that Roxbury 10 had gone down, that he was busy spending Easter dinner with his family, and they didn't have time. It needed a manual reset, and he didn't have time to get out here to manually reset it until Monday at 11 o'clock in the morning. So I heard someone saying that a monitor was down, I believe probably somewhere more towards the mountain, for 4 hours. Well, this is well more than 4 hours. Easter dinner, I'm guessing 2 o'clock. 11 o'clock the next day, that's almost 24 hours that a monitor, I don't care what monitor it is, if it's the less important monitor, as has been stated, it's the one that's never had an alert, an alarm, how will we know if monitors are having alerts or alarms when they're down for 22 hours and someone can't come out here because it's not a work day, it's a holiday, they're too busy shopping, they're busy having fun with their family, but yet everyone in town, a lot of people in town, had family members come in. Monitors are down, maybe they're all getting poisoned, and we're all stupid and happy and don't know any better.
Mrs. Isherwood.
How is that acceptable?
Mrs. Isherwood, I did see your response, and I asked Bruce to respond directly to you.
I did not see that.
You'll be getting that
Okay.
tomorrow. So you'll be getting a response on that tomorrow.
I mean, but how is that acceptable? How are you accepting that? And what are we paying them? Wait a minute, what are we paying them, 288? What are we paying them?
You know, we're paying them approximately $300,000 a year. But Mrs. Isherwood, you have a system in place. No, it does work. Yes. The monitors aren't there to stop the gas.
Believe me, I know that.
Okay. So the point is that they do work, but with equipment from time to time, they need to be adjusted, they need to be reworked. We need to fine tune it. This is something that You'll not see, you know, if you look at any of the other reports, communities aren't putting out 9, 10 monitors in a perimeter like this.
That's not my concern.
I know it's not your concern, but
Okay.
I'm just telling you, we have redundancy. Even in the way that our monitors are established, there's redundancies in the way that it flows as well too. So Mr. Groves will be, and I'll ask him to actually call you on this as
But
well.
how is it acceptable for it to be out for at least 22 hours? It could have been a monitor up there when we had one of those spikes. How is that acceptable? I don't care whether it's machinery. That's why it should be trucked out. Are we supposed to live like this for the next how many years? And I think it's a very fair question that Maureen asked, to ask, how long do you plan on living in town? Because you are making the decisions that are going to affect everyone else that plans on staying here or has to stay here. I think it's a very fair question.
This is my community. My family.
Right, and it's my community.
So-
And you know what? I'm
I-
sorry to say,
so
it's
that's how I
my
answer.
community. How long do you plan on staying here?
You know, I'm gonna be here as long as I can possibly be here.
Well, by my house.
Okay, well, you know what? I planned on being here and being brought out in a box at old age. But at this point, I don't think I'm going to. And you said as long as you possibly can be, well, that's how long I'm gonna stay here, as long as I can possibly stand it. And even if I am gone, I'm still gonna fight for everyone that's still here. And I'm sorry if you don't like my attitude or that I'm getting annoyed. I'm really sorry about that because
We understand.
I don't think it's fair that you get annoyed that I'm angry. But in any case, I request an H2S monitor at Horseshoe Lake. It was requested the other week, I request it. The way that these gases flow, they've smelled it far more. That's a park where people play, and I request that that be done there. And I also want to know what's the status of the app. Maybe then, if the app will come out where it's going to beat me, then maybe these monitors being down for 22 hours when nobody knows. And how many times have they been down that none of us, including you, even know?
Let me answer the question on the app. We have
Go
two
ahead.
meetings this week with two different vendors in regards to the app.
And how much is that going to cost us?
I don't know, because
Okay.
we're just having our initial
But it's
meeting.
because it's not about the cost.
Thank you.
But also, I mean, how many times, how do we know? Do they tell you after the fact when monitors have been down? Or are there times where they've probably been down often and we're all just unaware?
No, they do have reports on when the monitors are down.
So do you share that with the public, how often the
I'd have
monitors
to
are down?
ask, I'd have to ask them to release.
I request that we get however often it is, a report, how long these monitors are down, 1 for cleaning and 2 for breakdowns. I request that also.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Judy Decker on Lazarus Drive. First of all, I'm a little encouraged tonight to hear Fred and Mark. A couple of you are actually willing to listen to why we want to have this trucked out. I've just recently started my research because I have not been able to feel like I trust the so-called experts that have been doing all this research for us. So I'm not quite ready with all my reports, but I've been posting a lot of material on Facebook recently. Some of it is that C&D landfills are one of the most highly combustible landfills around. Who knew that? They spontaneous combust from just simply having batteries in them. I have so much material, I'm not ready. I will be sending it to you as soon as I get it all together. Knowing that there's even some hope will encourage me to spend the time and put it all together. They're very dangerous, that's what I've come up with. Tires, they're poison. There's poisonous material, there's arsenic, there's PCBs, there's, as we know, asbestos already in there. As soon as they go up on fire, the liners are going to destroy or be reduced in life, and we have got a huge mess on our hands. Okay, maybe a couple years we're going to be fine, because we'll have enough wells and all the gas is going to be gone for a little bit, and then boom, we're going to be in big trouble, just like you mentioned about the other landfills. We can't just have a short-sighted view and say, okay, right now we're under control. The lives of our children are at stake. The lives of our community. You can't just make a quick decision the way you have. You need to get real experts from the DEP, from the
No,
EPA.
they
Maybe
lie.
not the DEP, we can't trust them.
No.
The EPA.
You need
Go
some good
online, do your
scientists.
research. I will send
Rutgers.
you as many websites as I can, and hopefully you'll look at that and consider it.
Anybody else in the public want to be heard?
Angela Johnson, 3 Rawlings Court. I just have a question. I mean, I guess my concern is, and I mentioned it at the meeting last week about some other risks of leaving the material there in terms of the ownership of the site and who's going to fund the, you know, maintenance and operating maintenance costs for the next who knows how many years. And I just want to know what you guys are doing, or are you doing anything to line those things up to mitigate those risks? Because to me, those are like just huge risks, because if you leave it there, then you have to ensure that all those things are taken care of, or else, even if this would work, which I don't know that I think it would, you know, if those aren't taken care of, then we potentially have serious issues down the line. So,
Obviously, it's uncertain at this point in time, primarily because it's in litigation. Theoretically, Mr. Bernardi could win, and he would own the property again. That is not the hope of certainly Roxbury Township or the DEP at this point in time. I've asked the commissioner in the past on a couple different occasions, do you plan on capping, which has all been a big concern, the rest of the property? And the response has been no. And ownership has come up, you know, but it's premature because of the litigation. We really can't talk about it, but it's you know, hypothetically, you know, if a government agency or somebody like that, even us, took it over, you know, we would have to have assurances from the DEP that they would still be responsible for any future issues arising from the landfill aspect of it itself, because we certainly don't want to take on the mess that's up there in perpetuity. You know, anything can happen. So we need to make sure that there are some assurances, but that part's come up to that degree.
is that something that you have asked for, or that's in the process of happening? Or?
Well, no, because the litigation's going on, so we can't even talk about it as factual. We can't, because Bernardi can sue and say, look, Judge, you haven't even made a decision yet, and they're making plans. You know, that's sometimes it's frustrating for us to not be able to answer some of the questions as complete as we might want to, because there are underlying facts due to litigation, and it's on multiple fronts. So it's frustrating to us, but rest assured, 2 council people mentioned that very issue to me today as I walked in, and I walked in from this side. So, you know, it is a concern of everybody that the very issues you have in the future is on the top of the list.
Because I just feel like those risks are as real and as big as the risk of trucking it out, perceived risk or whatever, because it'll be there forever, and we probably.
Well, the municipality doesn't have the ability to take on that kind of risk. We don't have the kind of funds the city of New Jersey has. Even if they're crying poverty, we don't have that ability, nor a resource to get that. We can't go to the 23,000 taxpayers and say, you know, we're going to take on a liability that we don't know what it is, because it's an unknown. It could be $100,000, $200 million. How do we assume that kind of responsibility? We can't.
Right. I mean, and I guess that's why personally that's why I'm behind the truck it out movement, because once it's gone, you don't have to worry about, you know, you don't have to worry about all those things because it's gone.
Yeah,
But
otherwise
the other question that I just have is, I know I sent some emails about the rest of the landfill, and you said that Commissioner Martin said that it's not going to be touched or whatever, but I know that's not what Attorney Bucco said, and I know Carrie emailed me back saying that nothing was going to happen, and I just don't know what happened with that.
I asked after that because Mr. Bucco said something came up at some conference.
Yeah.
Some other underling at DEP made a comment about doing that, and I called the commissioner. I forget when that was after, but it was the next day about some other issues. I think it might have been the day with trying to think if it was after the report. There's been so many meetings that I got a little confused, but, I said, you know, there's mixed information out there. You know, I'm being told that representatives of the DEP are saying they're considering capping the resident property. So that's not true, it's not accurate. So, at his word, I can only take it there.
Oh, yeah.
Much beyond that, I have nothing to.
Angela, if you're able to attend that meeting tomorrow at 2 o'clock, you'll see that their stormwater retention is based on just the active area of the landfill. So that is something that they would have to plan for should they be planning to cap the remainder of
That's
system.
when you'll know.
Okay.
That's a good point.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry, you've already spoken.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry.
Hi, Patty Ianco, 50 Toby Drive. I've been coming to these meetings and have gotten very frustrated. So I'm just going to go, not from a scientific view, but from my emotional feelings. I've lived in Roxbury for 37 years. I raised my children here. I love this town and was so happy when we received 100 Best Communities. My children have played on all the soccer fields, the baseball fields, and this past weekend when it was so beautiful, I saw all the children playing at Horseshoe Lake, and I felt very upset that this town is being destroyed by a landfill. My daughter is getting married next year, and she's looking to buy a house. Sadly, I would love to have her live in my town and the town she grew up in. But I have told her, do not buy a house in Roxbury. I don't want my grandchildren to be raised here. So for that reason, and from my emotional plea, I ask you to please rethink your decision. I ask you to step up, speak up, and protect the children and the people of this community. And I know that you said, some of you said you did not hear what Governor Christie had said in that town meeting. So we'll help you here. We have it on.
Mr. Zoshak's going to send us the YouTube video.
We'll play it for you. It's very short. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
into being afraid of toxic gas emissions from Fenimore landfill and trying to get them on their side to defend NJDEP's plan to cap the landfill and not remove the waste that's emitting toxic gas. Excuse me. Meanwhile, they're also fighting.
Are you going to play the whole thing or just?
From the landfill so they can find out what's actually in it. And on behalf of the citizens of Roxbury, I'm here to ask you what's being hidden in Fenimore landfill and that you don't want dug up and that you don't want found. And why won't you get behind taking this waste out of the community instead of leaving it there where it's going to harm us?
Very simple. I got your question. Because it will ruin Roxbury and 30 other communities in 3 different counties. If you think that we're going to be able to excavate the truck out, which will take 18 to 24 months. This landfill just didn't start, a year ago. This landfill has been there for decades. I think they've been putting this landfill for decades.
But the problem though, Governor, is that by leaving it there, you're leaving a problem. And you're not cleaning it up. You're leaving the waste there where it's going to continue to emit emissions. As long as it stays there. You have to truck that stuff out. You can't just leave it there.
We can get into a debate about it, but let me just make it really plain and simple to you. I'm not doing it under any circumstances.
That's criminal.
Well, listen, you know what? You can say whatever you want to say about it, but the fact is, if you saw what would happen if we trucked that stuff out over 18 to 24 months, you would be singing a significantly different tune than you're singing now. Folks in Roxbury, decades ago, decided to permit that landfill and decided to permit what was put in there to be put in there.
That's not true. The NJDEP allowed
Okay,
safety.
All right, we'll stop it there. I'm sure you can look at it when you look online. But I'm gonna ask you, and I'm pleading again, please don't let the governor bully you. Please step up, please speak out, and I think we can do that by making the mayor can approach the news media and talk about what the governor has said about this beautiful town. Please protect us.
Anybody else wish to be here? Yes, ma'am. If you already spoken, we'll have a second public session. We have some other business to get to, so you'll be able to get a shot.
A lot of my points are the same, I'm just gonna make it quick, okay?
Sure. Oh, I wasn't speaking to you, some other people had their hands.
It's Barbara Giaquinto, 14 Mountain. You know, it's Caesar Augustus Christie right there. But anyway, it is what it is, you heard it and it's sad, but I do agree about the bullying and you know, I wrote an email a while ago and I realized, gentlemen, that you have so much paperwork going across, you can't possibly digest it all, so I appreciate that. But one of the things I wrote in my email, and I brought it here tonight because I know you can't read everything, is that we spend so much money, and I know this should be by the DEP, I mean the Board of Ed, not the DEP, the Board of Ed, but we spend so much money on our Department of Education in our schools for anti-bullying programs, and then we don't have role models for that. We don't really need the money for anti-bullying. We need good council members like yourself and good standing to be role models for our kids. And so that was one of the things that I kind of put in there. And the same thing that everybody said, don't let you know, governmental bullies, you know, stop you. I know it's scary. I'm up there praying up there more, so you have God protecting you, so go for it when you can. I just want to mention something. I agree with you, Mr. Crowley, about the methane. I couldn't really make that connection, you know, with everything, but I think it has to do with the DEP not, you know, just trying to grab anything we can to maybe go back and fight farther. And in fact, if you recall from the November 11th meeting, November 14th, 2011, I was there. That was at the senior center, and everybody was like going, whoa, you know, and like, you know, with the pitchforks and all that stuff. But I actually asked a question because everybody was like down, and like the DEP was like that. And so I said, well, what is a good thing? Can you tell us one good thing that's going to happen from this? And I couldn't find the transcript, so you're just going to have to believe me. But the person, I don't know who it was, said the release of methane gas, that will be one of the good things. And in fact, that was on the timeline for the SEP to release this gas. And in fact, in 2011-ish, I don't remember exactly when I started smelling the gas, but it was later maybe, I said, oh, that's the methane gas being released. I'm like, yeah, okay, good, they're getting it out. And then I went online and said methane gas is an odorless gas, so I said, how could this be? So just so that we're all kind of on the same page, there definitely is methane gas up there, and also it says right here in the commission's report, 40% methane at the LEL level. Maybe the only reason there has not been an explosion is because there was too much methane. So not so that you said, who said, but just so you know that, just so we're on the same page. Yes, there is methane up there, we all know that. We've known that since 2011, but I don't know what it has to do with trucking it out. So let me just get back real quick now. So my other things in the email, because you know, I don't think I emailed it to you, Chris, I'm sorry. After I emailed it, I realized I missed you. So my suggestions were...
Please don't do that, I need more.
Please be creative. This is what my first thing was, my suggestions. I know I'm supposed to ask questions, but be creative and follow a path not trodden and truck it out, like Bob was saying. Somebody's got to do it first. Let us be the ones. And if it gets really stinky, then you can say, see, I told you we shouldn't have done that. I'm willing to take that risk of blame. So that's pretty much it. The rest, you know, you've heard it all. I do have one question, and that had to do with when you had said you really didn't have the time to make the decision, you know, as far as a council, you know, like a Knights of the Round Table type of a thing. Why couldn't have the meeting last Tuesday been postponed? That's my one question. I didn't understand why it had to
be postponed.
Yeah.
No, actually, we were getting yelled at for pushing it back.
Yeah. Okay, so I was unaware of that because I was just thinking if you didn't have the time, and especially since it fell on a holy day.
We got bombarded with what's taking you so long? Why can't you get it to us? Why are you slowing it down?
Right.
So we
just
pushed
try to
it
be
out.
more careful next time, you know, and check the holiday calendars.
Well,
for that.
actually, we did. The second Seder is not listed on the regular count.
Okay.
And I,
But it was also Roxbury Public Schools were out too, so just try to be a little bit more, sensitive to that kind of thing. Thank you.
Travis?
I just want to make one comment, make sure you understood what I said earlier. What I didn't understand is if DEP thought there was a lot of methane there, I think that they would have used that as an argument not to truck it out. And that's why my comment tonight was, this methane up there, to me, that would be detrimental to the concept of trucking it out. So I'm kind of surprised the methane was even brought up tonight, because I would think that would be another thing that DEP would use. So I'm very much hoping that there is no methane up there, and I understood that there hasn't been any methane up there.
Yeah, no, there definitely is, whether it's for or against us, there's no.
but we'll take a look at those reports, and again, I want to caution you, if the reports were produced by SCP, you need to take them with a grain of salt.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public wish to be heard? Anybody that has not spoken? Seeing none, we'll close the public portion. We will have another public portion shortly after we take care of some other business.